You ever have one of those moments where you think, this can't be real life, right? That was me, staring out over 6 acres of hard-won Colorado woods, sipping coffee on my own damn porch, only to find myself suddenly at war with a bunch of suburban overlords who honestly believed a line on a map, or hell, a line they wished was on a map, gave them power over my house, my land, my peace. My name's Asher Kenwood, and I built this place from the ground up, literally poured every stair, welded every stringer, designed every window to catch the right slice of sunlight. Yeah, I'm an architect, 37, run a boutique studio, done jobs for folks with more money than taste, spent years bouncing between LA and Vancouver, drawing up palaces for people who'd never set foot on pine needles. But this one, this quiet slab of earth, this 2-story modernist puzzle I carved out of the wilderness, this was the first thing I ever built just for me. I bought the land from the state forestry department, way before a single synthetic blade of Aspen Gates turf ever brushed the mountain breeze. No HOA, no pastel mailboxes, no grinning dog walkers dropping off welcome cookies and noise complaints. Just wind, pine, and the steady sound of my own heartbeat as I worked late into the night, fixing the place up in between out-of-state gigs. I wasn't exactly Mr. Neighborhood. In fact, most folks in Aspen Gate, just down the road, with their by-the-book lawns and their step-forward HOA, had no clue who I was. Which was probably why, on a random Monday, I got this glossy, corporate-perfect envelope dropped at my door. The return address? Aspen Gate Homeowners Association. Now, that alone was funny. Except, well, it wasn't. Inside, this letter with all the menace of a tax audit. Pay 3 years of past due, HOA dues, fork over 18 grand, send proof of ownership, fix up my landscaping to match their standards, or else. I laughed, genuinely, at first. But then I double-checked the county GIS map, just to be sure. My parcel? Not even close to their border. I figured it was a mistake. Hey, everyone makes one now and then, right? So I tossed the letter and went back to welding. That was my second mistake, because 2 days later, the HOA herself showed up. Or at least, the closest thing to a suburban warlord you'll find this side of the Rockies. She stepped out of a spotless SUV, flanked by 2 so-called security guards who looked like they got their badges at a Halloween store. Clipboard, power stance, hair so sharp it could slice drywall. "You must be the tenant," she says, not a greeting, not a question. "No," I reply. "I'm the owner." She narrows her eyes, practically sniffing the air for noncompliance. "Of this property?" she asks, like I just claimed I own the moon. She pulls out her clipboard, flashes some HOA boilerplate, then lectures me about architectural significance and imposters. I tell her I designed it, I built it, and I'm not in her HOA. She laughs, short, brittle, offended. "You're misinformed," she says. "Our board recently expanded the jurisdiction. We voted." I pointed at the trees. "Your property line ends 200 feet that way." She gives me that smile, you know the one, condescending, like she's about to explain how microwaves work. "Here at Aspen Gate, we value order. Standards. We don't allow squatters or independent projects. Lowers property values." I step closer. "You're trespassing." She smirks, waves her security goons over, and says, "You'll be hearing from us again." Yeah, that happened. That night, I put up a big sign, "Private property, not part of Aspen Gate HOA. Trespassers will be filmed and prosecuted." Thought maybe that'd be the end of it. I was so wrong. Friday morning, taped to my steel gate, was an eviction notice. Fake county seal, fake letterhead, all the intimidation of a DMV line, but about as legally binding as a fast food receipt. They'd gone from passive-aggressive to straight-up forgery, and I realized then, these people weren't just pushy. They were dangerous, because they believed in their own fake authority. A few days later, black and white sheriff's SUV crawls up my drive. 2 deputies step out, looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. "Sir, we've had a report from Aspen Gate HOA. Can we see some ID, proof of ownership?" I almost laugh, but instead I go inside and grab the works. Deed, permits, tax records, all notarized and shiny. I hand it over. Then, just for fun, show them the security footage. Karen, that's right, her name was Karen, because of course it was, pasting up her eviction notice, practicing her Vogue pose in my reflection. The older deputy tries not to smile. Looks ironclad to me, sir. Not our jurisdiction. Not theirs, either. The younger one just asks if it's true I come in through the back at night. I designed the house for privacy, I reply. You want me to use the front door and put up a neon sign? They apologize for the trouble, make a note about the forged seal, and warn me. HOA folks like this get creative. Watch your back. You know what I mean? But this wasn't over. That night, I combed through old security footage. There's Karen, sneaking up at 2:43 a.m., pacing my fence with a flashlight, casing the place like she's auditioning for a heist movie. Next day, new signs go up, 24-hour video surveillance, footage archived off-site. By Friday, she's back, 2 goons in tow, measuring tape and tablets, talking about overlay hearings and how this whole block's gonna be under us soon. I realized they're literally trying to annex my land. Not with bulldozers, but with paperwork, meetings, zoning tricks. This was administrative warfare, HOA style. I called my attorney, Veronica, best land use lawyer I know. I sent her everything. The fake eviction, the police report, the midnight trespass, even the audio of Karen plotting her expansion like some real estate Napoleon. They're not just in violation, Veronica says, they're committing criminal fraud. Let's see how deep the hole goes. Meanwhile, I went full spy movie. More hidden cameras, encrypted backups, fireproof safes, the works. But the mind games didn't stop. 2 days after the deputies left, another letter. Join the HOA or prepare for zoning reviews, fire inspection, tax assessment, and utility audits. In other words, sign here or we'll bury you in bureaucracy. I scanned the letter, ran a font check, Microsoft Word default, classic Karen, and sent it to Veronica. She fired back. That's extortion. We're reporting it. Also, upgrade your garden cameras. That night, 3 figures snuck in from the tree lane. Karen and her henchmen, measuring, marking, whispering about staking fence plans and manufacturing ambiguity in the lot line. Caught it all on camera, every minute. Veronica's verdict. They're preparing to claim your lot by faking proximity jurisdiction. That's illegal, Asher. Time to fight fire with fire. So, I filed formal reports, trespass, harassment, conspiracy, attached every bit of evidence, then got the county clerk to send every zoning vote and annexation record from the last 5 years. There had never been a vote. It was all smoke and mirrors. I posted the story online, laid out every detail, diagrams, GIS screenshots, legal facts. By morning, 2,000 views. Reporters started calling. One recognized Karen's name from another state. Another HOA, same playbook. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just a local bully. She was a serial manipulator. I left town for a day or two, client in Denver. Came back to a scene straight out of a revenge flick. My hedges ripped up, stone lanterns stolen, tire tracks through my new plantings, koi pond border pried up. My security cam, the one hidden in the lantern, gone. But the birdhouse cam caught it all. Karen and her crew at 2 a.m., yanking, smashing, laughing, making a show of it. They even crushed my no trespassing sign and stubbed out a cigarette on my gravel. I called the sheriff. He watched the footage, jaw set, and started a real investigation. Veronica moved fast. Insurance claims, forensic adjusters, arborist assessments, and a civil demand letter to the HOA with every timecode and photograph attached. The county attorney's office wanted the footage. The local newspaper ran it front page. My neighbors, most of whom I'd never spoken to, started dropping off cookies and stories about Karen's years of quiet tyranny. Then, the calls came. A guy named Doug, used to live in another state, said Karen did the same thing to his family. Fake fees, bogus inspections, intimidation, until they sued and she skipped town. Veronica dug up sealed court records, enough to prove a pattern. Meanwhile, fresh community easement signs with the HOA logo started popping up on my fence, zip-tied like a dare. I collected them for evidence. Civil suit filed Friday. Every crime, every bit of damage, every fabricated document and timestamp. Veronica's opening statement? This is not governance. This is coercion. That shook people. Within days, the zoning board issued a public statement. My land was never under Aspen Gate HOA. Any claim to the contrary was false and possibly fraudulent. The town lit up. Social media buzzed with horror stories. Neighbors confessed to being bullied for years. Karen's allies started resigning. The HOA vice president even leaked an email. I warned her this would backfire. Now the whole board's in trouble. It all came to a head in court. Preliminary hearing, clean, cold courthouse. Veronica in her element, me in a navy blazer trying not to look like I wanted to set the place on fire. Karen shows up late, eyes darting, lawyer in tow, plus one of her cronies I recognized from the break-in footage. The judge, old and unimpressed, let Karen's lawyer make his case, just enforcing community standards, before Veronica stood up and laid out the real story. The forged notices, the midnight trespass, the fake expansion plan, the past criminal record. When the audio played, Karen's voice plotting to bring the whole block under control. The courtroom went still. The judge overruled objections, granted an emergency injunction, and referred the evidence for criminal charges. For once, Karen had nothing to say. The real trial, weeks later, was even wilder. Neighbors packed the benches, deputies watched from the back. A former HOA board member came forward, anonymously at first, then in court, testifying that Karen had orchestrated the whole takeover, targeting outsiders like me, betting no one would fight back. Veronica brought in the county recorder to prove my land was never, not once, part of Aspen Gate. The judge listed the charges: trespass, harassment, forgery, racketeering. Karen was sentenced to 3 years. Her accomplices fined, barred for life. The HOA dissolved, accounts frozen, all actions against me wiped out. When the judge finished, there was this quiet, satisfied murmur, like the end of a really good movie where the villain finally gets theirs. Veronica handed me a restitution order, $215,000, enough to fix everything and then some. I installed a new gate, hung a sign above it that said, "Home of a poor artist, richer than Karen." The irony wasn't lost on me. A few days later, an older man in a denim jacket showed up at the end of my drive. "I used to be on the board," he said, voice a little shaky. "I voted for the expansion. I was wrong. You built something special here." I just smiled and waved him up. "Tea on the porch. Only rule? No Karens allowed." He grinned, and as we sat there watching the sun dip behind the pines, for the first time in months, I felt the quiet settle in. Not just quiet, but peace. My land, my rules, my story. You tell me, where do you draw the line between order and overreach? When does a community become a cartel? Drop your thoughts below, share your own stories. Let's talk about what justice really means, and who gets to decide where home begins and ends.